good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're coming in from, and welcome to the 7th TweakTown video podcast. We are still in beta. We're very close to being out of beta for this podcast, but we're just going to jump right into it like we always do. So we had a couple of discussion points today, as usual. We've got OCZ and their stock. They're having a lot of problems lately. Twitter has gone public with its IPO. Battlefield 4 has launched, maybe prematurely. Call of Duty Ghosts, its biggest competitor and one of the biggest first-person shooters or biggest first-person shooter franchise of all time, has just launched. And also the Tesla Motors Model S electric car and the various problems they've gone through. So it's just myself and Charles here today. Hello, Charles. How are you from the United States there? What time is it there now?
11:30.
Okay, so what is it here? It's in the 3 o'clock. So 11:30 at night on Monday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so obviously I'm in Australia, and it is 2:52 p.m. Tuesday. So it's confusing, and I'll never get used to that, I don't think. I don't even understand how that stuff works. Even when you're flying through it, like when I went to Canada a couple of weeks ago, I was in the air and I was flying, obviously over the Pacific, and then it was 3:31 in the afternoon, and I checked my phone, and I looked out of the window, and the sun was setting, and it was dark at 3:30 in the afternoon. It's weird how obviously all those time differences happen. Let's dive straight into it. We were going to start talking about OCZ first. If you don't know about the company, OCZ deal with SSDs. They used to be one of the biggest ones in the world. They still are quite big, but they've been having huge stock problems lately. We reported about it about a week ago, and we had a bunch of stories that came out that Charles wrote. He was on them pretty much straight away, reporting that they had dropped 22% in a day. They just tanked from nearly $1.07, $1.10 or so per share to about 80 cents. And then the next day they started to drop again, and they plunged down to, I think it was, what did they plunge down to, Charles? Do you remember? They plunged down to like 60 cents, I think.
The second day they went down to 38 cents.
And that was from within 2 days it was down from $1.10, $1.15, wasn't it?
$1.07.
$1.07. So they did tank down considerably. You're probably more educated on that. What do you think? Like, do you think that what do you think's gonna happen with the company? Do you think we're gonna see more of a drop? Do you think we're gonna see them be bought out by someone?
They're actually back up to 71 cents a share, which apparently is down 8.41% since yesterday. No one really knows why they tanked. I've spoke to several of the big SSD analysts in the field, and nobody can figure it out. Our own SSD guys have no clue why they dropped so fast, and OCZ stayed silent the whole week. In fact, one of their marketing guys was out fishing with his buddies while it was tanking, judging by his Facebook profile. So I mean, they haven't released anything. So what I'm guessing is one of their big investors pulled out. He probably held a couple thousand shares of stock or a couple million shares of stock. I don't know how diluted they are, but one of their biggest investors probably pulled out, and that's what caused it to drop, 80% in 2 days.
I really expected after that big drop, because it wasn't a little drop, and it's not like it happened over like look at Apple. They were approaching $1,000 a share and dropped down to $400 a share roughly that they're at now. But that happened over 6, 8, 12 months. This was just like a flash crash of over 48 hours. They went from $1.10 a share. Like if you look at, and if you guys want to do this, you just go to Google and type in OCZ share Google, and it'll pull up Google Finance, and that's what we're looking at now. So even you look at their high, which looks to be about beginning of August, August 6th, they were at what were they, $1.98 a share. And then you look now and they're at 71 cents. So you can see that big drop. And there was a sharp drop, August 12 to 14. They went from $1.90 to $1.30. So that's a big drop, and it stayed at that $1.30 for what from mid August to virtually the end of October when we started reporting on the share drops. It's just a weird, like, OCZ are quite powerful. I expected them to have really just not have come back from this. And I still don't think they're going to come back from this. I think that maybe they're probably going to be bought out by someone bigger who wants a quick, a couple million customers that are going to still enjoy the OCZ brand. I don't see them coming back from this and being strong. I think they're going to be like BlackBerry or something like that, where they just get ripped apart and sold for pieces.
Companies in history that dropped that much in such a quick time that survived. Coincidentally, their stock actually rose right after we released Chris Ramsayer's review of their newest SSD. A couple hours later, it was up several percent.
So maybe we're helping them. Maybe OCZ could chuck us a bone and invite us fishing one time. Yeah. That'd be alright. Like, I wouldn't mind going fishing while everything's tanking in the background.
Yeah.
It's weird. We don't know why. But we thought we would make that part of our podcast today, because OCZ are an important company. SSDs and storage are always going to be an important thing in the technology sector. But we're going to continue on technology and finance. Twitter, the social network that competes with Facebook. I'm sure that you've probably heard about it. If you haven't, then lift the rock up off your back and Google it maybe. Twitter went public during the week, so they've launched their IPO, and they launched it at about $45-46 a share. But they started to quickly lose their footing, and they lost millions and millions of dollars from their market cap. But it did go over $45 on the first day. But on day two, Charles did report that it dropped down 4%. Which isn't a lot, but it's still something that you really have to consider. And ever since they've launched, it was like Facebook, overinflated stock. People, Twitter investors and a lot of those day oneers would have had a lot of money invested, and they would have ridden that and then quickly sold a bunch of shares to make some money. So
I guess the most interesting part was that they only valued themselves at $26 a share, and the night before they set their value at $26 a share, and they said they're going to release 70 million shares. The first opening transaction was at $45 a share for 11.5 million shares. I don't know who bought that. Someone big did. Probably some big investment firm bought that. But so actually, Facebook inflated their shares themselves. Right before the IPO, they bumped up their net worth, whereas Twitter, the market actually kind of falsely bumped up what their value was.
I think and that's where you're right. Is that I think Twitter is Facebook's obviously a more of a globally connected social network with 1.1 billion monthly active users. But Twitter is used more in the mainstream media, with hashtags and stuff like that. So it's more connected into business, and like you said, like, they inflated it, and a lot of people behind the scenes would have made money. Like, if you look at the Google finance on it, you can see that they launched at 45, and within the first day they're up at $49 a share. And then obviously, within hours of that was at 9:30 in the morning, and then at 11 in the morning it was $49 a share, and it dropped pretty much right from there to 45. So you'd be pretty pissed if you were to buy it at that point at 49. Oh, yeah, it's gonna because the line just goes right up. So you would expect, maybe it won't go up to $100, but you would expect that it would gradually go up. But people lost money. But that's the way I view business. A lot of people think that you can just make money by following trends and and all that kind of stuff. Like, oh, Twitter could never lose value, or Facebook could never lose value. You would have said the same thing with Apple stock a year ago, and we were one of the first. We were the only site at the time saying that they were going to go down, and people were having so much confidence and pouring in maybe life savings, or even just $1,000 or even $100, and now that's it's worth half of what it was. Twitter, I think, is going to be the same thing. I don't see how, again, people need to realize the only way these companies make money is from selling you your personal information, your everything that's about you. They and pushing ads, which is just a way of selling you, is buying products and personalization on ads. I don't see how Twitter can can really like. I don't see them getting to like $200 a share or anything like that. I don't see them getting like that.
They're actually right now they're trading at $42.90 a share. After hours trading's at 43.03, so they're actually up 3% on the day, but they're still below their opening high. I don't know if it'll reach that $45 mark again for a couple months, if it at all.
I think you're right. I think it's going to equalize at like maybe 30. Like Facebook, it started equalizing back at 35, and I think that's what Twitter's going to be, about the 35, 40. I don't see them. They're having a hard time monetizing their service. Like, how do you monetize something like Twitter? Like, what, you're going to start charging people to use hashtags? Like, I don't, I don't see how they can. I'm not a business person, so for me, I don't see. Like, I use Twitter. Not as much as what I probably should. Not that you should use the X amount, but I don't see them being able to sustain that in the long term with huge share prices. I just don't see how that'll happen.
If they did monetize hashtags, we would be paying a lot of money.
Yeah, the amount of hashtags we use. If they made them like 10 cents a day, I'd spend $5-10 a day just for hashtags. Maybe you could buy them in a bundle, like maybe buy like 100 for like $5 and 200 is like $8 or something.
Yeah.
Do like bundle price. Or they could maybe do like free to play Twitter, and then you have to like maybe like go into a game and do something with hashtags. They'll find a way to make money from it. Continuing with money, we've had massive launches in the first-person shooter arena, even before next-gen consoles are here. So obviously we're about a week out from, or only days out from next-gen consoles in the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. We've seen two of the two biggest first-person shooter franchises release new games. So we've had Battlefield 4 from DICE, and we've also seen Activision and Infinity Ward launch the new Call of Duty Ghosts. Charles and I are probably big Battlefield fans. Versus, I think there's only one guy at TweakTown who plays Call of Duty, and that would be maybe Trace. Only because he just wants the dogs, like we've always said. He's really fascinated with the dogs in Call of Duty, and Battlefield 4. I think, Charles, you've played multiplayer. I've played single player. What do you think of the multiplayer side?
There's still a lot of bugs. There's more bugs than Battlefield 3 on launch day, but I still like it. I'm already a level 9, I think. It's going good. I think my favorite class right now is probably Recon. The sniping people in the game is just so easy now.
Yeah, it is. I've in the beta, I only played the beta of Battlefield 4, and the sniping definitely did feel like an improvement over Battlefield 3.
And I think I liked some of the maps. Some of the maps I don't like, but that's how we all are with games.
Have you played around or experienced the Levolution feature?
Oh yeah, definitely. Actually, there's only 2 levels I've experienced it on so far, and that's Siege of Shanghai, which we all played in the beta, and then the other one is Parcells Storm, and it's pretty fun. It's definitely a game changer. When I can be laying on top of a building, just a little building out in the middle of a field, sniping people across the map, and the commander can call in an artillery strike or something on it and level the building I'm on. It takes me effectively out of play. That's a pretty big thing.
I think that's what I like, is that Call of Duty, or Activision, Activision and whoever they get the game to be developed through, they just seem to just repaint Call of Duty and release it again and give you DLC and charge you X amount of dollars every year. With Battlefield, they try to give you those little features, like they finally brought back in Commander mode, and then they've got Levolution, and Levolution is obviously not all games are going to be going down that path, but we should already be there. We've got the amount of hardware behind us to be having destructible environments. What was it? Do you remember playing Red Faction?
Yeah.
That was amazing. Like being able to fire in the ground and just make a hole and go, blow up all the buildings. This was all before super powerful GPUs and 3 and 4 way high end setups that use 1,000 watts of power and 8 and 12 thread processors. Now Battlefield 4, I will admit, it obviously you've probably noticed it does use a lot more of your power of your system. It uses spreads itself across more threads and more cores on your processor, and uses a lot more RAM. It's 64-bit, which I think is good. But I don't know, the single player. I played it on the 2 video cards you can see behind me from MSI and AMD, the Radeon 7970 Lightning editions. And I played it just to play through and see what it was like, and it looked great, but I wasn't blown away. It looked great, but I wasn't blown away. I kind of expected more, especially since we're with next gen consoles, but I just wasn't blown away. I have no reason to go and play it again. Like, multiplayer, yes, but the single player, there's nothing there, and I thought the single player was really short. I didn't think it was that great. I don't know, that's my quick 2-minute review on it.
You know, we actually learned this week that a lot of the bugs that multiplayer people have been experiencing are actually because EA pushed the game out faster than it should have so they could beat Call of Duty to the market.
Which I think is I don't know, I think that's a poor excuse. Like, really, and we've talked about this on off of the podcast and on Facebook and over various chats and stuff. Like, it's like when you do a job, you know, right? We've been working for TweakTown for a long time. I've been with them for 3 years. I write news virtually every day of the week, and I would say my news has gotten better. The way that I write news, I can do it faster. I make less mistakes. I can type faster than before because it's an everyday thing. It's like if you were to cook a meal, like say you baked a cake, you bake the first one, it's probably not going to be that good. It's going to be like, you know, messy and all that kind of stuff. You do the second, third one, it gets better and better and better until you perfect it. And then once you perfected it, you know the recipe, you know how long it goes into the oven, you know how long to bake it for, you know everything. Nearly, say 9 out of 10 cakes will come out virtually perfect. DICE have released how many Battlefield games, and it feels like every time they do a new release, it gets worse. Battlefield 3, when it launched, had so many issues, and I expected that, you know, you've already built the game, and really Battlefield 4 it's not like they get Battlefield 3 and throw it out and then go, okay, here's Battlefield 4, we'll do everything from the ground up. We're not going to use a single line of code from Battlefield 3 at all. I don't understand that. If you've already made Battlefield 3, you've already made the single multiplayer sides, you've already made the servers, you've already made Frostbite, you've already got all the assets there. You're just building it on top. You're just making it better, expanding the levels, making Frostbite more powerful. And then it comes up with more problems. I really don't even get how that works. Like, I'm not a game developer at all. I don't develop, I don't write code for anything. I just don't understand how they can release a game like Battlefield 4 with the amount of money that game would have had behind them, and a company the size of EA, and it comes out half-baked like that. Like, it felt like, you see all the problems that people are having. It's almost like they just the beta was better. People had less problems with the beta than they have with the full release, and that, to me, that's ridiculous. Especially in 2013, like, it's not good.
Well, in a thread on Reddit, I guess an insider at EA was kind of spilling the beans, and he actually said they were adding new features to the game up until just a day or two before it launched, and they had no time to quality test anything. That's why we have all the issues, because they were like, hey, we don't have 3 weeks now, we have 2 days because Call of Duty Ghost is going to launch next week. We have to get this game out this week.
And see, and that's another thing I don't understand is, and if you take that into consideration, and that's where I think the digital world comes in, is that now with digital, they're pretty much going to be able to work on the game until the day it launches. So they can, you know, preload a game to you, and then maybe 2 weeks before the game is done and it goes gold. You don't really hear about games going gold anymore. I remember games, you know, you'd always hear like the latest Quake game has gone gold. It's finished. And then this was before you had huge patches like, it's like the Xbox One, day one patch before you can do anything. Why? Why do I need to download a patch? When I used to buy my NES and my Sega systems back in the day, I didn't need the internet to have them work. They would release a game and it was actually working when they released it. These games now are released to you like betas, and it's pathetic. I would love to have, like, if a game developer watches this, DICE, you know, Infinity Ward, whatever, you can come to the show and explain this to us. I would love to know how it was done 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, where you'd release a game, it was finished, and then you played it from start to finish, single multiplayer, whatever you wanted, and you never had a problem. Where now, you know, these games come out, they're bigger, and they say, oh, you need 64-bit OS. Like Call of Duty Ghost requires a 64-bit operating system and more than 6 gig of RAM and what is it, like a 40 gig installation. And then why, you know? And Battlefield 4, like you were just saying before, with a post on /r/Battlefield on Reddit. There was a post that we found about a week ago, and they were saying that they were adding, like Charles was saying, they were adding last minute features in at the right up to launch. And a quality assurance tester actually talked to a Reddit moderator, the quality assurance tester for Battlefield 4 and DICE, that how they found a glitch with the a shotgun in the game, and then when you would use that with a specific item in the game, like a light or something, it would crash the server and people wouldn't be able to hear you for the rest of the game. It's just unimaginable that a game and a developer of that size can make such a poor choice. Like, at the end of the, it's like, I put it this, I don't even know how to explain it. It makes no sense to me. If you were to get a video card and release it, and 9 out of 10 cards needed a driver before it could play any games, that company would be ripped to shreds. Could you imagine the R9 290X? You go out and buy it for $499, $599, and you plug it into your machine, and it comes up and says, sorry, you cannot use this video card until you download this 200 meg driver. You download the 200 meg driver, and then it only works in 6 out of 1,000 games. You're not gonna be happy with that. You're gonna go back to the store and you're gonna throw it on the counter and you're gonna want a refund, because you go online and you see that everyone else is having that problem. And these game developers think that they can just dump games on us like that. It's kind of insulting, especially here in Australia. I paid $150 for Battlefield 4 and Premium. $150, and there's problems with the game. I don't like that.
I agree. There shouldn't be any problems on launch day. It should work, and it should be maybe not perfect, but it should work as described.
Yep. And if there's a problem, tell you that there's a problem. Like, say, like in the game, like, I'm sure they could write code. If you use this weapon, we've been experiencing problems in QA. We will have a patch out soon. Then you would know, okay, if I use that weapon and if I have a problem, I know why. I just yeah. I think that's going to be a problem going into next gen consoles, and I think that we're seeing that now. This is probably just an exclusive to us. You don't see a lot of people thinking like this, but you look at the games that have been delayed on consoles. You've got a fair few games on the next gen consoles. The biggest of which is most likely going to be Watch Dogs, that was delayed, and you begin to wonder, why are these games being delayed? And why, like Battlefield 4 being one of the biggest games, why does it have so many problems when you're DICE and EA? Like, EA, I can understand, they aren't the best company. They did win, the Consumerist Worst Company in America award. And we reported about that, I think it was about 3 or 4 days before I read about it. I'm like, oh, that'd be a good story. Like, I'll write about that. People need to know about this. Keep it in the airwaves. And then 3-4 days later, Battlefield 4 launches, and it has all sorts of issues. It's like, EA, like, if I was EA, that was EA, like, that's my company. I'm proud. Like, I want to make it better, and I want people to respect me again, and I don't want people to say that I'm the worst company in America. I would have made Battlefield 4 perfect, even if I had to delay it. Even if you delay it, people would play Call of Duty. Now I want something fresh. I'll buy Battlefield 4. Why couldn't they have launched it? Even if they launched it after next-gen consoles are released, they could have worked on it up until then and made the game even better. But they didn't, and that's what I truly don't get. Tesla Model S. Charles posted up a story. What was it, about 5 days ago now? The Tesla Motors Model S, and if you don't know about that, Google it. So just Tesla Model S. It is an electric car made by Elon Musk, who was a co-founder of PayPal. His company released a Model S electric car that it seems to be having a couple of issues. We've seen 3 cars damaged and burst into flames over the last couple of weeks. I think it's 3 cars in 6 weeks. And the 3rd car was actually in Tennessee. And Charles posted up a story about 4 days ago reporting that. And then 2 days ago, the customer that actually had bought that car had come out and said what happened. Something fell off of, in front of him, and his car went over it. And if you're looking at the car, and normally your wheels, and you've got the body of the underbody of the car, that's pretty much just like a battery, and like a metal that's under there. And something had come up and like crushed into that, and he kept driving. I don't know why you would keep driving. Like, if something crashed into my car, I would just pulled over. And anyway, so he ended up pulling over after his car. I think he said, quote unquote, felt as though it even lifted the car up into the air. and then his the in-car warnings had actually said car needs service, car may not restart, and he pulled over. And he actually said, this is again quote unquote, had I not been in a Tesla, that object could have punched through the floor and caused me serious harm. From the time of impact of the object until the time of the car, until the time the car caught fire was about 5 minutes. So he continued driving for 5 minutes. During this time, the car warned me that it was damaged and instructed me to pull over. I never felt that as though I was in any imminent danger. While driving after I hit the object until I pulled over, the car performed perfectly, and it was a totally controlled situation. He finished by saying there was never a point at which I was anywhere even close to any flames. I would expect not. Like, if I'm driving in a car and flame dripped out of the car, I would pull over. Even after all of this, after his car's been virtually destroyed, he actually said, this experience does not in any way make me think that the Tesla Model S is an unsafe car. I would buy one. I'd buy another one in a heartbeat. So that kind of goes to a testament. Again, it's a for and against. He had an accident. This is a third one that's had a problem with it blowing up, with it catching on fire. But it did have an accident. If this was a normal car, he probably wouldn't have even lived to tell the tale. What do you think? Like, Charles, you're probably more of a car enthusiast than what I am. Would you buy a Model S if this had happened to you? Would it put you off of a Model S?
Definitely, I would buy one in a heartbeat. All the incidents with the fires occur when they strike something in the roadway, or they get in a wreck, and that the lithium ion cells in them are damaged. And as you know, all of us have seen when cell phones, when you damage the battery pack on a cell phone, it will catch on fire. And they use basically the same battery technology. So when you damage that battery cell, and you introduce air and water vapor into that lithium environment, it's going to create heat, and it's going to create hydrogen, and that's where the fire comes from. So I would buy one just because they are safe cars. They've only had 3 fires. And every fire, like I said, has been caused because they collided with something in the roadway or another vehicle. Your car you drive every day that uses gasoline. If you hit something hard enough, you can rupture the fuel tank and gasoline will leak. And if that gasoline gets to the right place and finds a heat source, it's going to catch on fire.
That's right. And I think that's where a lot of people, like, it's almost like fear mongering. Like, oh, look, there's another car that's blown up. Like, it's a Tesla Motors car. Like, it's a Model S. That means it's bad. And I think what maybe makes it bad is that the Model S is such an exclusive car. There's only a couple of thousand sold so far, or a couple of tens of thousands sold. That 3 issues is a big number, but that's only 3. And then if you were to go, okay, well then you got to ask this question: Toyota will recall millions of cars at once sometimes, millions of cars. But you never, like, and that's a negative thing, but people got to understand that these cars, like the Model S, is built differently. It's got a battery inside of it. It's built completely differently. And actually, we posted a story a couple of weeks ago about how safe it is. It was actually rated as one of the safest, if not the safest car that you can drive. They did car tests with, like, obviously a dummy kid in the back, and they did rollover tests, and in every situation the kid would have survived. That's a huge thing. I'm a father of a 2.5-year-old with another one on the way. If I had the money, or if I'm in Australia where cars are 3 times the price of virtually everywhere else, if I could buy a Model S for under $50,000, I will get one. Like, it's as easy as that, just for the safety factor, and that it's charged obviously it uses a lot less fuel. And then I would probably go to, like, maybe Patriot Memory, and I would say to them, hey guys, like, can you make me like a 200 million mAh battery, and I'll just take one of those with me in my boot, like a mobile phone charger, and just charge my car like a portable charge. That's what I want. That'd be nice.
Well, I look at it this way. Elon Musk also owns SpaceX. You can actually see many of his posters behind me.
I do like those posters behind you, especially the SpaceX one. That is pretty cool.
He owns another company that builds rocket ships that fly stuff to the International Space Station, and NASA trusts him enough to do that. NASA trusts him enough to fly a vehicle, to the space station, made up with it, and then release without damaging a $1 billion space station. If you think for a second that he will not have this issue figured out with these cars within a few weeks, you're crazy.
And that's right. Like, you're probably safer in Elon Musk's hands, because Toyota and that, you never really see the face of the designers of the cars. You never really see the person behind them. Where Elon Musk, he's in the news. He's always showing himself. If someone has a bad experience with a Model S, you could pretty much, again, this is what we were talking about before, you could probably do hashtag Model S and then type in problems. And I'm sure that someone from his company, or even he, would reply, because you're spending that kind of money on a car. You're almost buying a Ferrari at the end of the day. And again, like you said, he's responsible for multi-billion-dollar projects going into space, and he talked about the Hyperloop and stuff like that. Like, it's not something that you mess around with. Like, these problems, again, I think if you took away the people having an issue, maybe had an accident, these issues wouldn't have even happened. It's not like it's it's not like it's a fault with the car. Like, if you drive the car at 63.7 miles per hour on a 97.1 degree day, you will have a problem. That is a problem with the car. That is a fault. This is people experience a near fatal car accident and then the car having an issue because of that.
What he actually hit was a trailer hitch that fell off a truck. I drive a truck, and I have a trailer hitch on my truck, and they weigh 15-20 pounds of solid steel. You hit something going 80 miles an hour down the road that's 80 pounds in solid steel, it's going to punch through an armored plate. So it's not like they ran over a twig or an acorn laying in the road and it damaged the car. They hit a solid piece of steel. They hit a hard piece of metal that could do nothing but tear through the car. I don't think there's anything wrong with the car at all.
No. And that's right. I don't think there's a problem with the car. I think, like I said, if there was a specific thing that you could do, like if you had a certain amount of weight in the car, or a certain temperature, or that's an issue. That's a fault. But when it's like if you drop your phone and you've got Gorilla Glass 3 and the screen shatters, just because it has Gorilla Glass 3, you dropped your phone. It's not meant to have a sustained, like, if I throw it at the ground and then it shatters, I go back to Apple or back to Google and go, well, this isn't supposed to happen. It's supposed to protect your phone, not completely protect it against everything. And I think that's, people just, obviously, it's just, it's that sensation, oh, Tesla Motors is that a problem? Haha, like, their cars aren't so good.
And I'll go ahead and say it. If Elon wants to come on the show and discuss it, maybe let us both test drive a Model S. I'm pretty sure we're open to that.
We probably, I don't know if I could say exactly, we probably wouldn't complain. Probably. It will most likely cost more to ship the car over to Australia than for it'd probably be cheaper for Tesla to actually fly me out in the States.
Yeah.
and then drive the car than it would be to ship it over to Australia, which is just ridiculous. But he could just build a Hyperloop from say Los Angeles to Sydney. That'd be okay. That's fine. I have no problems with that. That'd only cost him probably like $100 billion.
I mean, to put it in perspective to people who don't know him, he is a real life Tony Stark.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He's probably the closest to Tony Stark, or even Bruce Wayne or something like that. He's
actually, when they shot the first Iron Man movie, they actually profiled Elon Musk for how Tony Stark should behave.
And he actually, I think that would make sense. That would definitely make sense.
And he made a cameo appearance in Iron Man 2.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh no, he did. That was at the when they had that big conference in the movie, I think.
He's like, "Hey, Elon."
Yeah,
they were at the races, at the Ferrari races, the F1 races.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did you think about Iron Man 2?
I like all Iron Man movies. I made a frickin' arc reactor for Halloween, man. Come on.
Yeah, that is cool. I don't know. Iron Man was good. I did want more action. Iron Man 2, I felt fell right into the ground with the action at the end. Like, it just felt like, combine our powers, and then like the bad guy dies. And then Iron Man 3 was, I really didn't understand how Stark had built, like, what was up to like generation 40 something of suits, and then they just started falling apart. It's like in the first movie they go to, I know we're going off subject, but why not? In Iron Man they showed like how virtually indestructible his suit is, like the Mach 3 or whatever it was, indestructible. Like he was being fired at by whatever, being punched around by the other guy in his suit, no problems. And then Iron Man 3, like, after he saves all those people from Air Force One, he drops them all down, and then I think he flies off, and he gets hit by that truck, and the suit just obliterates. And it's like, well, I don't understand. Like, his suit was like nowhere near indestructible in the third movie. It made no sense to me.
I'm actually more excited for the new Captain America movie.
I actually saw. I went and saw. What did I see yesterday? I saw Insidious 2 at the theater, and I saw a poster. Actually, no, it wasn't that good. I would not recommend it. The first one was good. If you didn't know, the second one was done by James Wan, who directed Saw, and The Conjuring. The Conjuring, I loved. I thought The Conjuring was really good. Insidious is almost like it's a real kickback to Stanley Kubrick horror movies like The Shining. It was good, and it continues right off. So you could pretty much watch Insidious, and then Insidious 2 takes part so Insidious ends and it's like nighttime, and then this kicks off like virtually straight away. So I like that, where you could pretty much watch Insidious, like say with your girlfriend at home or your wife or whatever, or a friend, and then you could go to the movies and it would feel like a flow on, like a 3.5 hour, 4 hour horror movie. But yeah, when I walked out, I actually saw a poster for Captain America 2. I'm like, yes, I can't wait for that. And that looks impressive.
Oh, you need to go watch the trailer.
I've watched. Is there more than one trailer? I've seen one. Okay, yeah, no, I did see it. It looks impressive. It does. It looks a lot like, actually, the first one, a lot of people didn't know what to expect, but it was actually really good. I loved it. I told everyone that I need to watch it.
It's one of my favorite Marvel movies of all time. Other than like the original X-Men movie. It's probably the original X-Men, the original Iron Man, Captain America. Thor was even really good.
I enjoyed Thor. I did not think, I watched it mainly because Chris Hemsworth is in it, and he's an Australian, and he was in a soapy over here called Home and Away, and it's just Odd Neighbours, one of them, and it was he was just shocking in that. But then he went to Thor, and he was really good, and I loved Thor. I thought it was great. And Thor, I think so. We'll probably finish off with maybe one more. I think Dead Rising 3 is going to be a big-ish title for the Xbox One. And I noticed Kitguru had actually said the resolution problems with the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, you could say. Xbox One more so. They actually called it Resolution Gate, which I actually really loved. Because it is almost like that. It's a huge issue, and a lot of sites aren't covering it. It's almost like they don't want to say anything because they don't want to piss Microsoft or Sony off. But really, like, you're releasing all these games and you're releasing them at 720p. I think that's pathetic. In a word, pathetic. If you want to come at me and send me an email and tell me otherwise, that's fine. But 720p, when PC gamers have been doing that since the 90s, we're in 2013 now, that's not on. And if you're going to do 720p, then I would expect at a minimum 60 frames per second with maximum AA enabled. That's the only way that I would consider next-gen consoles to do this. But they're doing 720p with Dead Rising at 30 FPS. And they're saying, oh, but we're going to have more on-screen items and more action and stuff like that. But 720p at 30 FPS, it just doesn't seem right.
I completely agree with you. I don't think 720p is enough for a game of that caliber.
No, and it's not like it's a small game. Like it's a big game. Like Dead Rising is a big franchise now. And it's almost that if they had made it into a 1080p 60 FPS title with true next generation leaping graphics, that's almost a system seller. If they were to sell that game right, it's a system seller. Right now, I don't know, there's no system seller right now. I'm sitting here and I could just run out and buy a PS. If the PS4 was out today, there's no games out that I want to buy it for. If the Xbox One was out, there's no games. Like when the Xbox came out, I lined up for that at midnight because I wanted to play Halo. PlayStation 2 I didn't really bother, PlayStation 3 I didn't bother, but Halo to me Halo. Xbox had Halo. That was a system seller to me. But now they don't have anything. And what do you think? Are you going to buy PS4 or Xbox One?
Nope, not either one of them. I was kind of holding out for Grand Theft Auto on PC, Grand Theft Auto 5 on PC. I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll know in a couple days because a lot of people say November 22nd is when it's going to happen. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. At this point, I'm too enamored with Battlefield 4 to even care.
I think that's what a lot of people are going to be that's why I'm surprised that they released Battlefield 4 before the next gen consoles. It's almost as if Battlefield 4 and COD Ghosts. It's almost as if they were scared to compete with next gen consoles because they're a game. I kind of don't get it.
Yeah, I don't. Well, I don't get it either. And they said Call of Duty Ghosts sold $1 billion its first day, which was actually more of a fib than anything else. They were stretching the truth. What actually happened was they sold $1 billion worth of copies to retail outlets, which every game does that. Every big title game sells $1 billion worth of copies to retail outlets. But the difference is, if they don't sell that $1 billion worth of retail copies to customers, they ship the copies they didn't sell back to the publishing company and then get refunded.
And I think that's what it is, and I think a lot of these games, they do it just so they can say that, you know, we sold $1 billion worth of games. We sold $1 billion worth.
Well, you know, they kind of announced that because a couple weeks ago they announced right after Rockstar announced that you know, Grand Theft Auto 5 had sold $1 billion worth of games in 3 days. You know, Activision jumped in and said, "Oh, well, we're going to do the same thing with Call of Duty Ghosts, but we're going to do it in 1 day." And that's why they announced those numbers. Grand Theft Auto 5 actually sold $1 billion worth of retail sales in 3 days. It's a true $1 billion worth of sales, whereas Activision didn't sell anywhere near $1 billion in the first 3 days. And I don't even think they've sold $1 billion yet. I would be surprised if it is, because it's not that good of a game.
No. Even Battlefield 4, I don't think is that good of a game to sell $1 billion worth of copies on. I think, yeah, but it's not on PC. Like, why did they have to do this to me? Like, I don't want to buy a console. I just want to have it on PC. That's all I want. I want to play it in 2560 by 1440 or triple screens or with a mouse and keyboard or a controller. Like, that's why I like PC. I've got the option to do whatever I want. If I want to hook it up to my TV, play it on my TV. Play it with a controller on my TV, or a mouse and keyboard on my TV, or on my monitor with a mouse and keyboard, or my monitor with a controller. I can do whatever I want. That's what I like. And we will just do one more topic. Ben has posted up the latest Blu-ray competition, which we don't usually have the opportunity to do this because we usually do the podcast at the end of the week. We have two copies of Monsters University on Blu-ray to give away, and all you have to do is just answer a question. That is on the site right now. By the time you see this, it'll probably be a couple of pages back, but the competition is open up until Friday, so get on it. You can win a free copy of Monsters University on Blu-ray.
We'll put a link to it in the video, video stuff,
and in the news post.
And by the time you hear from us next, the Xbox One will be launched.
I think we will probably. I was actually going to talk to you about this. We might as well keep it in the podcast. We will probably have a podcast based just on the consoles. I would like to do that. Maybe
we can do that.
A podcast just based purely on covering the consoles. Maybe bringing up to speed on what's in them, what games have launched, what countries it's launched in, the price. You know, we'll have something on that one.
And Cast AR will have finished their Kickstarter campaign by then as well. So we'll have a lot to report on.
We will. Thanks for chiming in for the 7th podcast. We will see you in a couple of days.
Yep. Hey, thanks for coming.